Good evening, everyone.
Kavod how are you?
Baruch Hashem, thank you. So yesterday we did Aleph. We got the Shulchan Aruch Bet. So it says here like this: Lakach kos shel shechar o mayim. If you took a cup of water or beer, liquor, uberach baruch ata Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam borei pi hagefen. He blessed borei pi hagefen, but obviously he thought it was wine, whatever, something like that. V'toch kedei dibur nizkar sheta'ah. So then, right within 2 seconds, he remembered that he made a mistake. ואמר שהכל נהיה בדברו. And it says שהכל נהיה בדברו. The question is, did he fulfill his obligation? וכך הייתה אמירתו, so what did he do? Like this. ברוך אתה השם אלוקינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. He first said בורא פרי הגפן. And then שהכל נהיה בדברו. יצא, so he did fulfill his obligation, right? So how is that? Because he corrected it within 2 seconds. If he can do that, he's good. If not, he's got to make the blessing again. Okay, that's the Shulchan Aruch. So let's see the Ramah here. ואם היו אחרים שותים גם כן ויין לפניהם, so it says, if others were drinking also wine in front of them, ודעתו גם כן על היין. So his intention was also on the wine as well. שהיה סבור שבכוסו יין, because he thought that he had wine in his cup. ובירך בורא פי הגפן. So what did he do? He blessed בורא פי הגפן, ונמצא אחר כך שבכוסו מים או שחר. Turns out that it was really water or beer. כשחוזר ושותה אחר כך יין, so when he comes back and now drinks wine, אין לו צריך לחזור לברך. He doesn't have to bless there, in that case. ויוצא בברכה שברך על כוסו. So he fulfills the obligation with the blessing that he blessed on his cup. אף על פי שהייתה בטעות, even though it was a mistake. דעתו אהבה לשתות, היה לשתות, because his intention was to drink גם כן לשאר יין. He wanted to drink also the wine as well. גם הוציא לאחרים ששותים לשם, he also fulfilled the obligation of others who were drinking there. So therefore his blessing is good. So I'll read this one more time. Make sure we got all the details here. So it says, again, right? He took a cup of beer or water, blessed on Boripir Giffen. So then, within 2 seconds, he fixed it up and said Shakol. So we said, right, he did fulfill his obligation in that case, since he corrected it within a time frame of 2 seconds. Otherwise, if he waited longer than that, right, he's got to make another blessing. That's what we said. So that's pretty clear. Now we got the Ramah. So the Ramah is being like a different variation on this theme over here. So what is he saying? He's saying, right, that what about if you have a case where others there were drinking wine? So therefore, when he made the blessing, he was also intending to drink that wine as well. So if that's the case, he says he wouldn't have to bless again on the wine, to drink wine. Why is that? Because his intention was on that as well. So therefore, he fulfills obligation for both the beer and also the wine as well. That's it. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll go on. So the reason for this is because his intention was also on the wine as well when he made that blessing, since there were others who were drinking wine, and he also thought to drink that as well. Okay, that's it. So I guess we'll go to Gimel. So this whole right chapter here is talking about mistakes, right? When people make mistakes with blessings, the question is, how can you fix it up? If you can fix it up or not. Okay, great. So we'll go to Gimel. So it says here in Gimel, Katav Rambam, right? It says the Rambam, Kol brachot kulan im nistapek, right? So any blessing, right? The Rambam says if there's a doubt. So let's go to tour and read the whole thing. So he says like this, im berach im lav. The question is like this, right? He has a doubt whether he blessed on it or not at all. He's not sure if he made the blessing. So what's the rule? He doesn't have to bless again. Whether it's the beginning or the end. Why? Because it's from the rabbis, the blessings. So therefore, in cases of doubt, we go lenient. Safek brachot leakel. That's the rule. So so that only applies to the first one, the first blessing, which is from the rabbis. So we learn that from the reasoning. The person is not allowed to benefit from this world without a blessing. But it says when it comes to the final blessing, right, of the main gimel, and all that stuff, of the seven species, it's from the Torah. He says the masmich le akra, because it's juxtaposed. It's learned from a verse. It's darshan from the verse. Choser v'chen yireh midivrei hag. So he says, right, that in that case, you would have to go and do it again. So why is that? Because he holds that the Ala Mechia is from the Torah. But in truth, there's also another opinion that says it's not from the Torah. So the only thing that's according to the Torah, according to some opinions, or the only thing which is from the Torah is the Birkat Hamazon. But Ala Mechia is not from the Torah, according to some opinions. So let's see Shulchan Aruch and see how we first Bet Yosef, and then we'll see Shulchan Aruch. So it says Shulchan Aruch Bet Yosef. So the Torah holds like that, right? That you will see that Ala Mechia is from the Torah. Not everybody agrees with that. We're going to see that now, probably in Bet Yosef. So, זה לשונו, פרק ח', right, this is what it says in פרק ח', הלכה י"ב, כל הברכות האלו, אם נסתפק לו בהם, אם ברך, אם לא ברך. So he says, right, all these blessings, if he has a doubt whether he blessed or not, ודייק לכתוב כל הברכות. So he was particular to write all the blessings, האלו, שכל הברכות שבאותו פרק הם מדברי סופרים. Because all those blessings which are in that chapter are from the rabbis. לאפוקי ברכת המזון, right, as we said, that comes to exclude ברכת המזון, which is from the Torah. שאם מדאורייתא, שאם נסתפק לו צריך לחזור וברך. So therefore, if he has a doubt regarding ברכת המזון, he has to bless again. כמו שכתב, בפרק שני, like he wrote in the second parak, הלכה י"ד, רבנו מוסיף גם ברכה אחרונה, so it says, right, the Torah also that applies to the final blessing, the me'en shalosh, which is the me'en shalosh, שגם היא מדאורייתא, he says that it's also from the Torah, וכן משמע בריש פרק כיצד מברכים, so that's the way it implies in this parak, וכן כתב Rashba also says that, דלקת דטעון ברכה לא לפניו ולא לאחריו. Right, so Rashba seems to say it's not so. It's not from the Torah. So he says because it doesn't really require from the Torah a final blessing on the 7 species. Ela shivat aminim, but only 7 species. Shehem teonim bracha lacharem min Torah. They require from the Torah. So apparently, right, the Rashba also holds like that. It's from the Torah. Ha shar minim ben ifneim ben lacharem. But he says when it comes to other species, whether before or afterwards, and teonim klal, they don't need a blessing at all. Ela misvara. So he says, but it's logic. So he says the verse is just right a allusion. It's not really a literal verse. עד כאן. וכן כתב גם כן הראש. The Rosh also says this פרק ההוא, in this פרק, וזהו לשונו, this language of ראש, ויש להסתפק עם ברכת הבורא נפשות רבות, עם שיחה שיעור עם לאו. So he says there's a doubt whether בורא נפשות requires to eat a certain amount or not. דילמה דווקא ברכת מן שלוש. Could be maybe it's only regarding מן שלוש. דכתיב, because it's written in the verse, ואכלת ושברת וברכת. You should eat and be satiated and bless. he דבעיה שיעור. Only that requires a certain size. Mashma desfira le the bracha mein shalosh, so implies that he holds that the mein shalosh ala michya the right tahi, it's from the Torah. Kom makom lashon Rabbeinu eno mimchuvan, but he says the language of Rabbeinu, right, which is the Torah, is not precise. The mechar shel sover the bracha mein shalosh deoraita, since he holds, right, that mein shalosh from the Torah, he lo havale lichtov the masmich le akra. So he should have written, right, that he uses an allusion from the verse, because that would imply that it's from the rabbis, just an allusion. Rather, he should have written that he brings it from a verse, right? It's not an allusion, according to that. So now he says, right, but from the Rambam it seems that man shalosh is also from the rabbis. שאין שום ברכה מן התורה כי אם ברכה שלאחר אכילת פת. Because the only thing which is from the Torah is ברכת המזון, when you eat bread. לבד. וכבר כתבתי זה בסימן קפ"ד. Says I already wrote this in chapter 184. כתב סמ"ג, says the סמ"ג, מתוך הלכות גדולות, right, from הלכות גדולות, משמע דברכה אחת מן שלוש מן התורה. It seems like implies that it's from the Torah. דקאי וברכת אף התאנים ורימונים. Because he says, right, when it says you should bless God, it's also going on the figs and dates. נכתבים במקרא, which are written in the verse there. Then it says, doesn't seem right to me, he says. The in can, because if so, he says, יברכו עליהם שלוש ברכות, then they should do ברכת המזון, if that's the case. בתוך הלכות גדולות, משמע דברכה אחד מהן שלוש. ממש, אלא, ודאי ברכת לא קאי, אלא Elechem alechem ad kan leshono. So the Samag seems to agree with the Rambam that it's rabbinical. Me'en shalosh al mechia. Okay. That's how we paskin, by the way, in the Shulchan Aruch, that it's from the rabbis. We're going to see right now. Let's go to Gimel. So it says the Shulchan Aruch like this: Kol habrachot im mistapek im berach im lav. So it says all the blessings, right? If he has a doubt whether he blessed it or not, eno mevorech, he doesn't bless it, right? From doubt. Lo betchila v'lo b'sof, whether it's beginning or end. Chutz mi birkat hamazon pnei shehu shel Torah, right? Only birkat hamazon, he says, right? Which is from the Torah, but the rest of it is not from the Torah. So you see, he paskins like the Rambam that it's not from the Torah, right? Al michya, men shalosh. Okay, great. So that's the end of the chapter. Going to next one. Let's see what we got. Going to Reish Yud. Okay. Okay. So says the Tur, Reish Yud, ברכה ראשונה אין לה שיעור שעל כל דברים מברכים לפניהם בכל שהוא. So he says when it comes to the first blessing, right? You don't have to eat a certain amount. Any amount you need to bless, no matter what. שאסור ליהנות מן העולם הזה בלא ברכה. Why? Because you're not allowed to benefit from this world without a blessing. So whatever amount it may be, you still have to bless. That's what he's saying. ומיהו מתאמת שתואמת בתבשיל, but he says, but if you're tasting the food, not really eating, right? You're just tasting it. אין עוד צריך לברך עליו. You don't have to bless on that. עד רביעית, until you eat רביעית. So רביעית is, on the larger side, it's bigger than an egg. Because egg is 50 grams and revi'it is 80 grams. So it's quite large, relatively speaking. So if you're not eating that amount when you're tasting something, you don't have to bless on it. That's what he's saying. So he says that applies even if he's right he eats and swallows it. Even if he swallows it. That's what the Rambam says. Satan the one who tastes doesn't need to make a blessing. Ad revit, until revit. אבל רבנו חננה בדרך, פירש דווקא בתואם פולט. So he says it's only referring to somebody who tasted something and then, spit it out. But if he swallowed it, according to Rach, he has to bless on that. We don't pass like that. Okay, so אבל אם הוא בולע, but if he swallows it, אפילו בכל שהוא, even a little bit, צריך לברך. He has to bless according to the Rach. ומי הוא כשהוא פולט, אינו צריך לברך. But he says when he spits it out, he doesn't have to bless. אפילו על הרבה, even if it was a lot. אבל ברכה האחרונה צריכה שיעור. But he says when it comes to the final blessing, though, it does require a minimal size, right? B'shura b'zayin minin kazait. So he says, what's the size? With the 7 species, you need a kazait. Okay, great. That's a tour. So let's see the Bit Yosef here. So says the Bit Yosef, Ken Katua Tosfot, Ve'arosh Ve'arashba, right? All these rabbis wrote like that. So what does that mean? That you don't need to bless when you taste something. Per Kitzab Mirachin, um, right, I'm sorry, I didn't say it right. These rabbis are saying that when you make the initial blessing before you eat, that doesn't require minimal size. On any size, you have to bless. That's what they're talking about here. So, it says, בפרק קצת מברכים, it's in the brachot there, גם בהר דאמר רבי חייא ברבא, regarding what this rabbi said, אני ראיתי את רב יוחנן, so it says, I saw Rabbi Yochanan, שאכל זית מליח, says he ate a pickled olive, ובירך עליו תחילה בסוף, and he blessed before and after, ורבנו יונה כתב שם, רבינו says, שעל פרי פחות מכשיעור מברך לפניו. So he says, when it comes to a fruit, even if it's less than the size, he does have to bless on it. שהכל, ולא משמע כן מדברי התוספות. But Tosfot doesn't imply like that. והראש בהדיא כתב כן, and the Rosh explicitly wrote like that. ובהדיא כתב כן הראש בגבי ברכה האחרונה. So he says, regarding the final blessing, the Rosh wrote explicitly, the שבעה מינים שכתב רבנו, the seven species that were written by the tour, בסוף הסימן, the end of the chapter, שדבר הראוי לברך עליו ברכה מעין שלוש, something which is fitting to bless on it, the מעין שלוש, בשביל חיסרון השיעור, because of lack of size. לא שייך בו ברכה אחרת, there's no other blessing that is relevant to it. כתב רמב"ם בהדיא, says the Rambam explicitly, the Perek Gimel, in the third Perek, Katuv b'Cholbo, it's written in Kolbo, b'Shem Rav Acha, Meshabecha, right? This rabbi, De'al pachot mikashiur en tzarich lebarech. When you have less than a size, you don't have to bless. Afilu shakol, even shakol. Wow. En ken dat kol poskim kemo shenidber. But it says all poskim don't agree with that, right? As we said. So we're not going to poskim like this. Okay, great. That's good. So let's go to Shulchan Aruch. עושה שולחן ערוך, האוכל פחות מכזית, בין בפת בין בשאר אוכלים, eats less than a kazite, right? Whether it's bread or some other food, והשותה פחות מרבית. Also, if he drinks less than רבית, בין ביין, בין בשאר משקים, whether it's right, wine or other drinks, מברך תחילה ברכה ראויה לאותו מין. So you're going to bless before, right, the proper blessing, ולאחריו אינו מברך כלל. But afterwards, he's not going to bless anything, because he didn't have enough, right? That's the thing. ויש מסתפקים לומר שעל דבר שהוא כברייתו, so he says some have a doubt whether what שעל דבר שהוא כברייתו כגון גרגיר, right? So yeah, there's a doubt regarding, oh, you know what, I think there's some Bit Yosef that we didn't do. There's another piece. Let me go back there and finish it before we get to this. Yeah, this was Aleph Aleph, so they went to do Aleph Bet. Aleph Bet, I'm sorry, we missed that. This one. We gotta do this one. Okay, that goes to the end of the chapter. All right, let's see what we can do. We have time. So we said over here in the tour about bracha אחרונה צריכה בשיעורה בשבעת המינים כזית. So as we said, right, when it comes to the final blessing, you have to eat a kazait, otherwise you don't make a final blessing. When it comes to foods, right? When it comes to drinks, it's a revi'it, right? It's a larger size. How much is a revi'it? 80 cc's. Okay. So let's see the Bit Yosef here. Perek Kitzat Mevarchin, right? It's in the Perek this in Brachot, Lamed Chet Amud Bet. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba. This rabbi says, Ani Raiti et Rabbi Yochanan. I saw Rabbi Yochanan. He says, Sheachal Zait Maliach. He ate a pickled olive. Uberach alav techila b'sof. He blessed before and after. Amar le Rabbi Yirmiyah le Rabbi Zera. So this rabbi tells him, Rabbi Yochanan, Echid barich al Zait Maliach. How did he bless on his pickled olive? He says, Kivan de shakle legar enita batzarle. So he says the thing is that once you take out the pit from the olive, right, it's already smaller size. So then how do you bless on it, right? It's not enough. That's the question that they're asking. So he says, what do you think? We need like a big kazait? Benoni baina. We need like a middle size, right? We always spoke about this one time. That when it comes to olives, right, there's three varieties. There's the large, medium, and small. So we still have them today. Same thing. Go to your local supermarket and you'll find all of them there. So okay, but he says when it comes to the sizes, for the food, we go with the middle size. V'ha'ika piresh Rashi batzir le shiura. So he says you do that much you have, right? You have a middle size, even if you take out the pit. So he says, and Rashi explains, right, that when it doesn't have the size, begabe bracha perot haaretz achila kitiva. So it says regarding the blessing of fruits of the land, achila kitiva, it's written eating. So meaning what? That means you have to have a kazait. Achila bekazait. Achila is the eating with kazait. Okay. כתב הריב שמינא אמינא דכל אחד דאיכא כזית. So the Rif says that we learn from here that wherever you have kazait, by a brachat tchila, we do require a blessing before, besop, and also in the end as well. Aval hecha delika kazait, but when you don't have a kazait, tchila by bracha. So then in the beginning we have to bless, right? Shasur le'adam le'anot min ha'olam hazeh b'klum, because you're not allowed to benefit from this world without below bracha, without a blessing. Where is that in brachot lamed hey amud aleph? Besop lo by bracha, but in the end doesn't require a blessing. V'chein katvu shama tosfot. That's what it says in tosfot. Ve'arosh also the rosh. Okay, great. Mhm. Let's move on. So it says, מה שכתב רבנו וירושלמי משמע שכל דבר שהוא כבריאתו כגון גרגיל של ענב. So he brings the tour Yerushalmi. Right. So now here we have another opinion, which is an interesting opinion. So what does it say? This opinion that let's say you have a kind of a fruit or something, and it's like a fully grown object. It's like a full kernel, like a full fruit. So even though it's doesn't have the size of a kazite, you still have to bless on that because it's a full thing. It's a full fruit. That's what he's trying to say. The according to Yerushalmi, that's the way it is. So regarding that, it says Bet Yosef, uh, Zeh Lashon Yerushalmi, right? This is what it says in Yerushalmi. Ped Ketzad Mevarchim. In the parak, this parak, it says right over there, Rabbi Yochanan Nasav Zait Uberach Lefanea. So what happened, right? Rabbi Yochanan took a olive and blessed before, ulacharea, and also after. V'hava Rabbi Chia bar Abba mistakil be. So this rabbi was looking at him, looking at him. Amar ma den bavla mistakel let le kol shehu mimin shiv'a ta'un bracha fanav l'charav. So Rabbi Yochanan comments on this, right? He says, "What is this Iraqi guy looking at me? What's his problem? Doesn't he know that you have to bless on these things, seven species, before and after?" Itle ומה צריכה מפני שגרעינתא ממעטתא. So what is he saying here? So they answered him, he does hold like that. So, but he says the thing is, that when you remove the pit, it loses its size. That's what he was wondering about. How is he doing an after blessing when the size now is diminished because of the pit? So, מה עבד לה רבי יוחנן משום בריאה מילתא רבי יוחנן אמרה שכן אם אכל אפילו פרדה אחד של ענב או פרדה אחד של רימון שהוא טעון ברכה לפניה ולאחריה. So he answers like this, right, Rabbi Yochanan, that he holds, even if you don't have a kazite, but still, since it's a full kernel or a full fruit, you have to bless on it anyway. So what's an example of that? Let's say a grape, right? So, some grapes are small. They're not a kazite, but you still have to bless on it according to this because it's a full fruit. And same thing also applies to, right, the pomegranate seeds, right? Those seeds are, each one of them has its own blessing because it's a full fruit. That's what he's trying to say. So this is like how would you call it? Like it's an outlier opinion, But in other words, we don't paskin like this, but it's there, It's in the Talmud Yerushalmi. That's pretty much what it is. So okay, so this is the source, right? Yerushalmi. כתבו תוספות, says תוספות, גם בהד דעני ראיתי את רבי יוחנן, regarding this right thing, this story from the Gemara there. שירושלמי הזה חולק על תלמוד שלנו. So he says, right, Tosfot, that this Yerushalmi argues with our Talmud Bavli, right? So, in other words, we don't paskin like it. אם כן, אין הלכה כמו ירושלמי. So he says, therefore, הלכה is not like the Yerushalmi. רבנו יוסף מפרש שאינו חולק. So this rabbi says, no, it's not really arguing with the Yerushalmi. דרך המראה שהוסרו הגרעינים. He says, because here it's talking about where the pits were removed, and also it was salted afterwards. That's not the original way it grew, right? The fruit, it had a pit. shalem, but if he ate it full, complete, אפילו אם היה אפילו פרדה אחת, even if it was just one kernel, של רימון, of one seed of pomegranate, מברך עליו תחילה וסוף. You're going to bless before and after. Okay, let's move on. So he says, right, והראש כתב, says the Rosh, והשתא היי עובדא דתלמודא דידן, ההוא עובדא גופי דירושלמי, אם כן חולק תלמודא דידן על ירושלמי. He also says, it's a machloket between the Yerushalmi and the Bavli. וסבירה דאפילו בריאה בעיה כזית. So he holds, right, the Yerushalmi, that even one kernel, right, one seed requires, requires a blessing. The Talmud, so he says that we pass like our Talmud. So meaning what? That it always has to be kazait. It's not enough to just have one kernel or one fruit, right? Whatever it is. אבל אפשר דשני מעשים הבו, so it says it's possible that there was two different stories there. V'hai Yerushalmi have a bezait shalem. So this Yerushalmi, it was talking about a full olive, כשהובא לפניו, and it was brought before him, אף על גב דששליחה גרעינים, even though he removed the seeds, כיוון שהובא לפניו שלם, but since it was brought before him, right, full, ונהנה מבריאה שלמה, and he benefited from this complete fruit, whatever, מה שדרך לאכול ממנה, whatever is the way to eat from it, יש כאן שיעור, so therefore you do have the size there. אבל היי עובדא דתלמוד דדידן, but he says the story which comes in our Talmud, אפשר דהי זית מליח הובא לפניו. So he says, but in our Talmud, it could be that it's talking about a different version of the story, which is that that's talking about this salted olive was brought before him, without it was brought without a without a pit. Hilkach lo hava bria, so it wasn't really a full, fruit. וירא שמיים יחמיר שלא יאכל פחות מכשיור ויסתלק מהספק עד כאן לשון השוש. So the Rosh concludes like this, right? He says, if you're a God-fearing person, so be stringent, that what? Don't get into a doubt regarding this kind of issue. So what does that mean? That don't eat something which is a full fruit or full seed or full, kernel. Don't do that if it's smaller than a kazite, because then you're gonna have a doubt whether you need to make a final blessing or not. So don't get into that doubt. That's what he's recommending. The Rosh. Okay, interesting. So goes on, ורשב"א כתב דאפשר דכיוון דלא נסיב לה גמרין היי תמה מדרבא. So he says that it's possible that since he didn't take it, גמרין היי תמה ואדרבה והצריך לממר דזית גדול הווה. שמע מינא דלתא להד ירושלמי. So ויש לומר דאיתא נמי להד ירושלמי, ירושלמי סברי דרבי יוחנן זית שלם אכל ולא הסיר גרעין בריאתו, משום הכי חשיב לבריאה, אבל בגמרין סברי, בגמרין סברי דלא אכל גרעינתה, אלא סירו בזרקו, ולכך לא חשיב בריאה, משום הכי צריך למימר דזית גדול הווה, לאחר שנחתך או שנימוח, לא חשיב בריאה בשום מקום, בכל איסורן שבתורה עד כאן לשונו. So here the Rashba is trying to reconcile this whole thing, right? And to turn it into big one big theory here, which reconciles both sides. So I'm going to read this one more time. I didn't catch all the language here, so let's try one more time. So it says like this, right? Ve'arashba katav, says the Rashba. Ve'efshar decheban dela nasib la gamrin hay tama ve'adaraba itzich lemimar dezait gadol hava. So he says we can say, right, that maybe it was a big olive, right? What they give to Rabbi Yochanan. So therefore, Shma mina delita dehad Yerushalmi. You see from there that we don't pass like the Yerushalmi. Ve'esh lomar deita gam name dehad Yerushalmi. Or you can say that we do hold like the Yerushalmi. And the Yerushalmi said that Rabbi Yochanan zayt shanem, but the Yerushalmi holds that Rabbi Yochanan was achal. He said he holds that he ate the full olive. Velo yisir ganinto. He didn't remove the pit. In other words, he ate the olive with the pit. Oh my God. Okay, well, that's going to cause a stomach ache. Okay, whatever. So therefore, it's considered to be like a full fruit, with the pit. אבל גם בגמרין סבא אלא דלא אכל גרעינתה, אלא סירו וזרקו לקרא. But it says in our Gemara, he holds they didn't eat the pit with it. Rather, he removed it and threw it away. Hilkach, לא חשיב בריאה, so therefore it's not going to be a full fruit. בשום הכי צריך למימר דזית גדול הווה. So he says that's what we have to say, that it was a big olive probably. דלאחר שנחתך או שנימוח, once it got cut, right, or dissolved, it's not considered to be like a full creation, a full fruit, a full kernel. B'shum makom, in any place. When it comes to any of the prohibitions in the Torah, ad kan that's the end of it. Okay, so the Rashba's language is trying to reconcile here two different ways of of solving this problem with the machloket between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. So the first way he tried to reconcile by saying that we're talking about two different cases, right? Which was that according to one version, which is the Yerushalmi, he ate the olive with the pit, so therefore it was a full thing there. So that's. But when it comes to the Bavli, what happened was that the version of the Bavli, he ate the olive and removed the pit. So then it didn't have the proper size. That's why you have different outcomes here, right? With these two different versions of the story. That's how he explains it. Okay, interesting, whatever. Anyway, we'll see how we paskin here in the Shulchan Aruch. So it goes on, Rabbeinu Yonah Katav, says Rabbeinu Yonah, he also says, right, that it's a machloket between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. Because here it implies that even though he ate like a full fruit, if it's less than a kazait, he doesn't bless afterwards. Yerushalmi implies even though it doesn't have a kazait, but since it's a full fruit, he's going to bless afterwards. Right? So it's what's halacha? So he says you can reconcile our Talmud with Yerushalmi. And we're going to say that if it's something which it's not the way to eat it, imagarin with the pit, right? Kagon zait, like for instance the olives, right? Who eats olive pits, right? It's not a good food. You don't want to eat olive pits. כגון זית וכיוצא בו, צריך שיהיה בו שיעור מלבד הגרעין. So therefore you need to have a size without the pit. שכיוון שאין דרך לאוכלו עם הגרעין, because since we don't eat, the pits with the olives, נמצא שלעולם לא הווה בריאה, so therefore it's not considered to be really a full fruit without the pit. כשתוציא הגרעין, when you remove the pit, he says, כמו שדרך להוציאו, like it's the way to remove it, לא יישאר שלם, it won't be complete anymore. מפני זה, הוא צריך לומר, because of this, says he needed to say, בתלמוד שלנו, in our Talmud, זה בזית גדול עסקינן, we're talking about a big olive. אבל אם הוא דבר שדרך לאוכלו עם הגרעין, but if it's something which is the way to eat with the pit, שלו, with them, כגון גרעין של רימון, for instance, the pomegranates, right, that we do eat the seeds there, או של, in other words, we eat the seeds with the pit inside. Right? That's true. Or good gadadiot, right? Or you have cherries. That okay. We kill some things like this. So if you eat one of them, even though there's not a kazait in the whole thing, we consider it like, because we judge it as a complete fruit. So you have to bless afterwards. Okay, that's the end of it. Okay, that's interesting. So we find here several ways to reconcile this whole contradiction here. This machloket between the Bavli and Yerushalmi. Oh, what can I tell you? Rabbis are very creative. They're very creative people. Okay, God bless. Okay, so I think we're not going to finish this today. So I guess we'll stop here, and we'll continue B'ezras Hashem next time, and we'll try to finish the whole chapter here. It's not really that much left. We need like 15 minutes or something like that. We can finish the whole chapter. So B'ezras Hashem next time. Thanks for coming. Be blessed with wealth and health and happiness. Laila Tov, Chazak Baruch, and we'll see you tomorrow. All the best. Enjoy.
Thank you so much.
God bless.
Thank you, Rabbi.
All the best.